Today's video is about what boat to buy if you want to go cruising. I've been asked many times by people who watch the channel who are thinking about taking up a cruising lifestyle, what sort of boat they should buy, and I've tried to categorize it into four areas really. One, do you buy a project boat and spend a lot of money upgrading it to a cruising standard? Do you buy an ex-charter boat, or a more modern, sleeker design, which will be faster through the water, or an ex-cruising boat? And I want to give you my opinions. I'm sure there will be there are lots of other opinions on what you should buy. There's no real right and wrong. It's really up to you to decide what you're going to invest your money in to take up a cruising lifestyle. One of the things I think first off is I've had 5 cruising boats over the last 30 years. The first boat was a heavy displacement cruiser, a Robert Tucker design, an English guy, and it was sturdy. Heavy displacement, only 36 foot, and we sailed that from Australia against the trade winds into the South Pacific. I've also had a Hunter Passage 42, which I sailed in the Sea of Cortez, a Hunter 466, which was pretty well equipped, and this, my latest boat, a Catalina 42 Mark II 2006. So I've had a bit of experience using these boats, living on them full time and cruising. So I thought there was some worth in passing on my own opinions if you're looking to take up the cruising lifestyle. It's a wonderful lifestyle, I will say that. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The people are absolutely fantastic that you meet, and the location's superb. First off, the main question you've got to ask yourself is, what are you going to use it for? Are you truly going to go offshore and do thousands of miles across open ocean? If you do, then you have to take that into consideration. I would say the majority of cruisers that I've met don't actually do that. Some do, but the majority don't. They tend to stay within a couple of 100 miles of land, which actually then negates, in some cases, the need for a slow, heavy displacement cruiser, because you can always get back to land within 200 miles. You can do it in a day and a half or 2 days. If you've got some bad weather coming. And also the areas that I've cruised, which is the Sea of Cortez and mainland Mexico, and you could go all the way down to Panama, thousands and thousands of miles within sight of land. So, and the same goes for the Caribbean and the Med, for instance. So, you know, those limited people that actually take off and do the round the world or the South Pacific, leaving Mexico and do 3,000 miles to out into the ocean, then yeah, you might have a different choice of boats. So this video was in answer to all the questions that have been asked through the channel, advice on which boats to buy, what type of boat, what equipment, and so forth. So let's start this thing off and say you're looking at a project boat. Something built in the late 70s, early 80s, tend to be very sturdy, have a lot of teak on board, and if you enjoy taking on the work and doing the upgrades yourself, can be an option for you. But you're looking at a very old boat with a lot of old equipment on the boat, so you've got to be careful. The purchase price of the boat may be cheap, but then you've got to add the cost of upgrading. You've got to look at things like, does the hull have blisters? what's the rigging like, what's the electronics like, the water and fuel tanks, what are they made of? If it's an old boat, it's going to have a black iron fuel tank. They rust. So you may decide to go down the route of a project boat and enjoy the whole process of putting it together, but to get that up to a cruising standard, think about all the equipment that you've got to add onto it, and it's an awful lot, and it's very expensive. You could easily throw $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 into upgrading, and you'd have, yes, all modern equipment on the boat. You'd have the water maker, the generator, solar panels, arches, new anchor chain, new rigging, new sails. Boy, does it add up in price. And I think the question you've got to ask yourself, once you've invested all that money, have you over invested in the boat? Is it actually worth the money that you've put into it? And my own opinion is nowhere near it. You've still got an old boat, and unless you've changed everything, stuff is still going to go wrong, despite the fact that you've plowed tens of thousands of dollars into it. And the engine, for instance, yes, you can have it serviced, you can have it rebuilt, but it's a 20-25-year-old engine. Chances are it's a Perkins. So my own view is I would stay clear of project boats. People always go over budget when they put a project boat together. You know, and there's a lot of upkeep on them. It might have teak decks, or it'll have teak all over the place. Fantastic looking, very seaworthy, and very safe. But yeah, the cost could be at the end of the day could be cost prohibitive. I'm not saying don't buy one, but I've had one, and I knew what a friend of mine and I put into that boat, and it nearly equaled the cost of the boat. So that's the project boat side. Go ahead with it if that's something you want to do, and you can do all the work yourself. If you've got to employ people to do the work, stay well clear. So the second subject is ex-charter boats. You get a modern boat, but they are very lightly equipped, and not in all cases, but in some cases they have been used and abused. So again, it's adding the equipment that you need to go cruising into that charter boat, and you can still throw a lot of money into that situation. Yes, you get a much more modern boat, but they won't come with 300 feet of anchor chain. They might have 50 feet and then rode. They'll have fairly cheap anchors on them. They won't have the full electronics, just enough to get by. Unlikely it will come with a dinghy and outboard. It won't come with a life raft. It won't come with a water maker. It won't come with a generator. Well, sometimes it might, but generally no. When these boats are purchased from the manufacturers, they're purchased to make money, so for the charter company, so they're not going to overinvest in cruising equipment. And most people go out for a week and then come back, so it doesn't need the equipment that you would for full-time cruising. So it's another option, but yeah, I would even put that further behind than buying a project boat, to be honest, because you're going to have to throw the same sort of money at it, and the initial cost price is going to be significantly more. So then you come on to buying a more modern production boat that's, say, been used for weekend sailing, going out to Catalina or up in Alaska and Canada or whatever for just weekend and holiday cruising. Once again, that's a boat that is lightly used, so it'll be in good condition, which is a bonus. But again, questioning the the amount of equipment that's on board. What are you going to need to add to it for your cruising lifestyle? And it's probably pretty similar to what you'd have to add to a charter boat. You can throw thousands of dollars at it. It will increase the value of the boat, but by no means near what the original cost of the boat and the cost of the added equipment would come to. And you know, when you look at a cruising boat, it's not just all the big stuff that costs money. It's all the spares, it's all the nuts and bolts, it's all the additions that you need. It all adds up. You know, there's thousands and thousands of dollars worth of inconsequential spares and nuts and bolts and cruising niceties on board Milagro. If I had to put on board what's on board now, it would cost an enormous amount of money. I think I went through the other day and there's probably $400 worth of nuts and bolts and screws and washers and and electrical connections. It's just incredible. But if you're cruising, you need them. You know, you might be in some place where you need to fix something or mend something, and then add in the cost of all the tools. That again can be a phenomenal amount of money. With, I don't know, the boat manufacturers seem to mix their nuts and bolts with imperial and metric, and you'll need socket sets and screwdrivers and electric driven equipment. So yeah, take that into consideration as well. But you will get a modern boat. It'll be faster. It'll have a lot of niceties. It'll probably have in mass furling or something like that to make life easier. But again, it's going to probably miss some of the cruising things that you need. So this is a very quick video, and I'm quite happy to answer any questions in the comments if you'd like to raise them. I always try and get back to people very quickly. If they've shown interest in the video, then I'll respond back. So my recommendation for anybody that's interested in full-time cruising or living aboard, maybe on anchor aboard, is to consider an ex-cruising boat. An ex-cruising boat is tried and tested, and it's pretty well equipped. The chances are, unless it's been suffered lack of maintenance and lack of money, there are those boats around where, you know, the cruisers come to the point where they can no longer afford it, and you can see these boats that mention in their descriptions that it's fully equipped and but a lot of the stuff's worn out. So look at a cruising boat that's been currently cruised, not sat on the hard for 3 years in the sun, where all the everything just sort of deteriorates. Look at one that's been recently cruised, and what do you get on a boat that's been recently cruised? Is likely as not a fairly modern boat. It won't suffer from gel coat blisters. The engine will have a reasonable amount of hours on it. It's likely to be reasonably well maintained. And then if you start from the bow of the boat, it's probably going to have 200 or 300 feet of good chain, a decent sized Rockner or equivalent, multiple types of snubbers to take pressure off the windlass. It'll have a windlass as well. Again, in mass furling, the chances are it's going to have solar. If you're lucky, it's got lithium batteries. If not, it'll be the old style batteries, and a variety of sails. The sails may be used, but you'll have all the options. You'll have a storm sail. You might have a spinnaker. If it's got a code 0, even better. It will have covers on all the hatches, some form of sun cover, over the boom and over the bow to keep the sun off the boat. It might have self-steering, it may not, but it will have a dinghy and davits, likely as not, and a decent outboard engine. It'll come with a life raft. It may not be in service, but you can always put it in service if you want to. Many cruisers don't. It'll have barbecue, fishing rods, fridge and freezer. It may have a separate angle as an additional freezer. If it's a walk-on, walk-off boat, whereas the owners have said, we're done with cruising, we're moving on to something else, normally people just take their personal items off. So it will be stacked full of spares, everything you're likely to need. It will have a full toolkit so that you can do the maintenance on the boat and repairs yourself. And all the niceties, all the bits and pieces that you make life enjoyable cruising. So my recommendation would be, look at something that's already been cruising. The boat's been tried and tested. It will also, most of it will probably work. Not all of it sometimes, but generally, and I am speaking in general terms, cruisers tend to keep their boats in good condition. When something goes wrong, they fix it. And the reason they fix it is they're in some idyllic anchorage and they go, oh, that bit's broken, I'm going to fix it. They've got time to do it. So looking around the friends that I've got that cruise, all their boats are in fantastic working order. Everything works. As soon as something breaks, it's like, whoa, I've got something to do, I'll fix that. So when you look at it, you look at the equipment on board, and I don't know, the boat may be, if it was a coastal cruiser, maybe worth 140 grand. For a relatively modern 2005, 2006, 40 odd foot boat. But then if you look at the equipment that's on it, over the years, they've probably put 60 to 70 grand into it. So you add the two together and you're up to 230,000. However, you can pick those boats up for what? 160? 165? For a really, really good, well cared for, fully equipped, genuine cruiser. So you're only paying a slight premium on the bare boat to buy a fully equipped cruiser, without all the headaches of projects and all the time that's spent in putting that boat back together. You can actually, bring your suitcases, move on board the boat, go through the boat for a couple of weeks, make sure you know where everything is, and then take off cruising. Fantastic. And all the depreciation is gone out of the boat. And I'll give you examples of this. The first boat I bought, and this is in Australian dollars, we probably bought it for 110,000 and put 40,000 into it, and 10 years later it was worth 115. Not bad. The boats that I've bought more recently, believe it or not, I've managed to buy them, use them, sail them for 2 or 3 years each time, and virtually get my money back on each boat. You lose the broker fee and maybe a few thousand. In fact, Milagro is for sale, and I'm hoping to get back roughly what I paid for it, because the depreciation's gone. Everything is in order, it all works, it is fantastically equipped, there's nothing to add, and it's the same as a lot of other cruising boats. People that cruise tend to keep them in good condition. So you can buy an ex-cruising boat, you can sail it for 3, 4, 5 years, and maybe your life decisions change, maybe it's a health thing, maybe it's grandkids growing up that you want to see, and you decide to to finish cruising. You may lose 20 grand on the boat. Over 5 years, 4,000 a year for somewhere to live is nothing. So I would encourage people to buy something that's ready to go and enjoy the cruising lifestyle for as long as you want, and you don't have to worry about, you know, how much money you've put into it and what you're going to get back, because it actually works out very, very financially effective. Well, it has done for the boats that I've bought, and for some other people that I know. So take that into consideration as well. You'll enjoy the lifestyle, there's no doubt about that. It's fantastic. And with a more modern boat, you're probably gonna, you know, the boat's quite fast. You can get from A to B quite quickly. So bear that in mind in your process. And I say there's no right or wrong. You know, this is just my personal opinion. I hope it makes sense. It's certainly done me well in the boats that I've purchased and sold in the past, and I can categorically say the cruising lifestyle is fantastic. It's not just about the locations, it's not just about the sailing and the challenge. I think the most important factor is the people that you meet. The people are very friendly, very helpful. They're always willing to help if you're in a tough situation, and one of the reasons I believe that people are friendly is because they have time to. They're not on an agenda, they're not time constrained, so they've actually got time to be friendly. So I would recommend cruising. If you're thinking about it, go for it. Thank you for watching the video. I hope it's proved useful, and as I say, if you have any questions or you want more information, please contact me through the comment section. If you have differing opinions, fine, put them in the comment section, because it's all helpful to the people that are looking for boats. It's a big step, and it can be very nerve-wracking buying a boat, but take it from me, it's worthwhile doing. Thanks for your time.